Hi, it's me, I'm Shar, and today I'm going to show you how I made this little pond for your desktop. I've always really loved desktop pets and idlers. I used to play with Shimeji desktop pets back when I was a kid, the ones you could pick up and they would cling onto your windows and stuff. And even with little cartoony virtual assistants like Clippy, I always thought there was something endearing to them. Something whimsical about a little creature inside your screen saying hi. I think the concept of desktop pets and idlers is still pretty popular today, especially with stuff like Desktop Goose, Kinito Pet, Rusty's Retirement, all coming out in more recent years. Sometimes it's just a lot of fun having a little guy scramble around your dreary workspace, or have a little farm running in the background while you work. Personally, I like my desktop pets when they're generally unobtrusive but still require a little bit of interaction. Recently, I started playing Neko Atsume again. If you're not familiar with what Neko Atsume is, it's a kitty collection mobile game developed by Hitpoint back in 2014, where you can leave out food and toys for cats to come visit you. You can take pictures of them and see their profiles. It was a very light, spend 5 minutes max per session kind of game that I really enjoyed. It's like Tamagotchi without the fear of death. I used to play it all the time during high school, and I'm pretty sure I collected all the cats back then. But now Neko Atsume 2 has come out, and it felt like it was a good time to revisit the game. By the way, if you play, you can visit my yard in the description. It's very ugly, but I'm trying my best to save up for a prettier yard. Anyway, I've been playing it for a couple of weeks now, and one of the only things I could think about was how it would be really nice if it was on my computer instead of my phone. And then I thought, hey, why don't I just make my own little collecting game and have it idle around my desktop? Something with my own froggy twist to it. A little pond where frogs can visit you and they ribbit when you click on them. Let me tell you how I made it. This video is more or less my devlog on it. So I had the idea down, essentially an idle desktop app where frogs visit you, but that was pretty much all I had at that time. I needed to brainstorm a few features to give the app a bit more interactivity and define how the game worked a bit more concretely. So I brainstormed with Milanote, who also happens to be the sponsor for this video. Oh, sponsor jump scare. I've actually used this tool before for college, mainly for its easy to use flowchart system and the fact that you can share your boards with friends. So yeah, I planned out the main algorithm for my thesis with my thesis partner in Milanote, and I apparently also used it for my internship at some point. These memories escape me. Milanote is a tool for organizing creative projects, and it's absolutely a tool for people whose train of thought is on the messy side, so perfect for me, because it's essentially a board you can pin sticky notes and other stuff like images, videos, etc. onto. You can even put boards in your boards, so you can organize your messy train of thought recursively. It kind of feels like a desktop with folders and icons, if that makes any sense. I used Milanote for planning mainly 3 things. The visual direction, with mood boards, the different windows and features of the game, and the main functions I'll be using when I start programming it. I already had a general idea of what I wanted, so I just kept tacking on sticky notes or doodling over said sticky notes whenever I had a new idea. It was really satisfying placing them on the grid and rearranging things to fit what I was thinking at that time. There are also a bunch of pre-made templates to choose from for different types of projects. I personally think it's a really good tool if you're planning to start work on a game or other creative project, especially if you struggle a bit with regular note apps. Milanote is free and has no time limit, so if you're interested in trying it out, feel free to check out the link in the description to sign up. A warm thanks to Milanote for sponsoring the video. So visually, I'll be making it doodly. Obviously, Neko Atsume is the main inspiration for how I'm laying things out, but essentially, I'm just planning to draw a little pond based on my Frogurt character that can fit 4 frogs at a time. I'm not planning to put a crazy amount of effort into the art since I've only given myself a few dedicated days to work on it and get it working. My projects tend to fizzle out when I work on them for a long period of time, so I'm thinking of this as more of a game jam project with light graphics work more than anything else. Features. A bunch of frogs. When you discover a new one, you can put them in your frog journal, and when you click on them, they make a little noise. Some decor you can put out to attract special frogs. Some frogs come out during the day, and some frogs only come out during unhinged gamer hours. When you're around, frogs give you shiny stones, and you use shiny stones to buy more decor. Frogs only come out when you've set down flowers for them, and flowers last an hour. Oh my god, that rhymes. Bars? And flowers last an hour before you have to replace them again. And that's pretty much it for features. I won't really explain these flowcharts. I wrote all of this in 2 hours when I was feeling smart at 4 a.m. on like a Friday night. And I don't really think my brain's recovered yet. I'll explain them later on in the video when they come up. I was originally planning to format the process by category, like a section for programming, a section for art, etc. But I feel like I can tell the story of this app's development better if I just gave you the day-by-day retelling of it. Think of it as the journal of a little gremlin's 6 sleepless nights trying to make frogs appear on your screen. My sleep schedule is ruined and I'm not really sure when it's gonna fix itself. The first day was mostly brainstorming. All of the stuff I mentioned earlier and some initial Unity project setup. I made concept art for the pond, the decor, and all the frog designs. There are 17 frogs in the game, by the way, something Day 1 Charlene will eventually come to regret because there are 8 unique animations with around 3 frames each per frog, which means, yes, I drew like roughly a little over 400 frames of frogs. I started playing around with Unity in high school, but I've only actually ever used it properly in college for game jams in my university game dev org. It's the game engine I'm most familiar with, and their newest update, Unity 6, was recently released. Aside from new tools and quality of life features, I was pretty hyped about the fact that they were making the splash screen optional. So imagine opening your little frog desktop app, but first your entire screen has to fill up to show the Unity splash screen. I was worried that it would be like that and it would be jarring, so this was pretty good timing. At that point, I already made concept art for the pond, so I was like, I'll set up the pond on the screen at the very least today. And at this moment, I would like to thank CodeMonkey with all my heart for making a video that fits my needs exactly. I also probably would have never figured out how to make the window transparent using Windows DLL either. So CodeMonkey, without you, this video would have never existed. Or would have been delayed by like 10 billion days, I don't know. Little movable pond on my screen. Hell yeah. That was all for day 1's programming. I figured I needed time to figure out and plan how I was going to program all the features I wanted. With every project or prototype that includes programming, I make it a practice to figure out all the logic first because it's the most difficult part for me. My brain is a very normal size with very normal limits, so I knew this was gonna be the thing I was gonna spend the most time on. I spent around 2 or so hours, super sleepy, scribbling pages of flowcharts I was gonna type down better the next day. It felt like college all over again, minus the fear of flunking. The second day was split between programming and art. Mainly for my sanity, I don't think I can realistically spend the entire day programming and stay a well-adjusted individual. On the programming side, I did most of the foundational stuff on this day, creating scripts for the frogs, the decor, all the important spots on the pond, the UI, so nothing by itself that could be called a working prototype, but important to making the prototype work. I was also kind of scared of programming the main scheduling function because I was worried it wouldn't work and then I would go to bed angry. And I wanted to go to bed feeling cool and swag, so I spent the rest of my time working on drawing the decor. I planned out 4 main areas for decor, which I'm showing you on screen. To make it easier for me to think out what kind of decor I could make, I made theme sets for all the slots, like a set for spooky items or a set you can find in a Philippine backyard. Some decor I decided to animate a little bit since I thought it would look cute. Cause like, what's the point if it's not cute? Remember when I said I couldn't realistically program all day? Well, I did, so I guess it's realistic, but like, at what cost? I don't want to confess this, but for illustrative purposes I will. I play Sudoku on my phone, like a crazy amount. Like, if there are chess guys, I am a Sudoku girl. Anyway, I used to average at around 2 minutes per normal game, and it went down to a full 5 minutes after this day. That's crazy. What do you mean? What do you mean I went down 3 minutes? All I did was program. So summary of the stuff I was able to implement on day 3. I set up the decor menu. You can have up to 4 decor out at a time, but each decor uses a specific slot, so I tried my best to show that in this window. In line with that, I added decor placing functionality. When you press available decor, it shows up. I also added the purchase decor function. I gave myself thousands of shiny stones to test this. Very cheat engine reminiscent. And finally, the frog scheduling function. I spent hours on this. There were so many points where I thought it wouldn't work out, but I'm so glad it worked roughly how I wanted to in the end. Let me try to explain how I made the scheduling function work in the most digestible way I can. If you're returning to the game, it loads your previous schedule and checks if everything's still in order. If there isn't a schedule ready, the game checks if there are any flowers out. If there are no flowers, wait for them to be set. Once you've set them down, record the time that they were set and grab the time that they'll be removed. All possible frogs for the time slot and the decorations you have out will be filtered down into a little list of frogs. For the entire duration your flowers are set out, there will be a chance a frog will be scheduled every few minutes, and when they're scheduled, they're given a spawn time and a leave time. These are compiled into a schedule your game saves, and this schedule can be regenerated depending on other factors, like whether your decorations have changed and other stuff. Talking about it generally like this makes it sound really simple in hindsight, but my god, did Dave and Charlene write 7 pages of brain rot on it. I even rubber duckied some of my friends. In other words, I yapped about all the technical parts just to make sure I made sense to mainly myself. Thank you, duckies. I drew 2 other frog sprite sheets with the remaining time I had. Not that I was on a timer or anything, but the sun was coming up and all the roosters started crowing and I felt kind of pressured, so I just went to bed. Day 4. Frogs can now be recorded into the frog journal after you click them for the first time, and they also generate shiny stones now. The bulk of programming for this day was dedicated to making a save and load system so that your progress stays intact even if you exit the app at some point. I would like to thank Brackies with my whole heart for teaching me how to make a save and load system. I also added a sound system to play sound effects and ambient noise. And the frog noises, I had to make them. So the frogs I made, it didn't really feel right to have them croak like regular frogs. And I didn't really know what I had to look up on sound effect sites to get what I wanted. So I just took my mic and I made them myself. I think my messages to a friend at that time can explain what happened the best. Can you imagine sitting in your room in front of your mic at 5 a.m. making creature noises for several minutes? At some point, you kind of just sit down and think about what got you to this point. I'm 25 years old. I took a 1-day break between day 4 and 5 to work on actually important to my life things. Although it sounds a bit crazy to know I'd been working on it basically non-stop for 4 days straight at that time, I actually really enjoyed working on the game. I love creating projects, but there's really nothing that can beat seeing actual progress. The feeling of inching closer and closer to project completion every day. The entire break period between day 4 and 5, I was craving so hard to work on the game, but I'm surprisingly pretty good at controlling myself, so thankfully I got the important to my life stuff done. Anyway, day 5, and actually also 6. These were almost exclusively drawing days, aside from some little things like adding a settings menu and other small UI stuff. The majority of this time was spent completely on drawing the rest of the frogs. I drew so many frogs, I thought I was gonna go crazy. I have exciting news. So you can actually download the Frog Pond right now for free on my itch.io site. This is the first solo dev project I've ever finished, so I'm pretty happy that I was able to get it out there. I think everyone deserves a pond on their computer with little frogs, and I had so much fun making it and playing it myself, so I want to see other people play it and enjoy it too. I did have an initial testing phase though. I sent the game out to some friends to get their feedback and to also at least know if it opens on their desktop. I'm really grateful that a lot of them were excited to try it out, and it made me feel really happy. The rarer frogs in the game are based on my friends actually. I've also compiled a little list of patches to make before hopefully this video and the game is released. Overall, super fun project. I don't know if I'll update it again in the future with better art or more frogs and decor, but that's only if enough people, including me, are interested. I was thinking it might be fun to make a little Christmas update or something at the very least, so I might do that. Thanks for listening to my entire journey about making this. If you tried it, let me know your thoughts. You might not know, but I really like playing and talking about video games. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I'm over the moon with the fact that I was able to complete something on my own this time. A quick announcement, my holiday merch is here. It's a sweater and a cardigan, and it'll only be available for a limited amount of time. Pre-orders for the Frogurt plush and the Frogurt keychain are also up again. You can check these out at shop.sharyap.com. Thanks! Listed on screen are my Coffee and YouTube Lasagna tier supporters. Thank you for supporting my silly projects and videos. My work wouldn't exist if there weren't people like you to enjoy it. That's about it. I haven't mentioned the game I like at the end of my videos in a while now, so I guess the end of this video is dedicated to Outward. It's such a fun game. The jank is excellent, and my friends keep making me lead the way because I have no sense of direction. I also want to mention Hypnospace Outlaw. It's a super good game. I was lost in it for hours, and if you're a web surfing goblin and you like Y2K stuff, you should definitely give it a try. Okay, that's all. Bye.